What are you doing? What have you done? What have your careless hands wrought? Alright, welcome back everybody to this special edition stream thanks to the Carnival Fears release. As you can expect, or as one might expect, I was debating streaming tonight. I wasn't sure if I was going to, kind of going back and forth about it because I'm kind of tired. Actually, I'm very, very tired, actually. So I didn't think I was going to, but I figured, what the hell, you only get one release night. Technically, it was yesterday. But today, at least for me, October 4th, was officially supposed to be the release day, so here we are. We do have our cool new client. I do have some of the new Phobies. And I did actually pick up the horrific deal that was here. Has anyone got the avatar from the Jacks? I saw somebody in Discord did forego, but I have not yet. And I've opened 11 Jacks so far. 2 of the free ones, and then I got my 9 for the day. Because I was making it a point to make sure, since I have the the boost from the horrific pack, to utilize it. And we'll see how far we end up with. But yeah, I actually played against somebody earlier. It might still be an active game. Yeah, it's still an active game that had the Ted or Jill avatar, I forget which. So there are definitely people out there with it. But I have not gotten it myself. Did I get any of the new Phobies? I did. And I'll explain. So, I have access to Daisy. I have access to Zomboni. And I have access to the red Speedola. You'll notice that Zomboni and Daisy are already level 3. The reason for that is I am part of the content affiliate program, and the Phobies team gave the content creators, myself included, they gave us some of the Phobies. Specifically Zomboni and Daisy. I got the red Speedola out of... this is going to sound dumb, but I accidentally bought a terrifying pack. Because I just kind of clicked on it, and then I tried to click off, and then just clicked in the wrong spot, and it was the get button. I know it sounds kind of dumb, but it happened. You got red Speedola also. I kind of want the blue one more. I think the blue one's better. But yeah, we'll upgrade these, because we're only going to get one upgrade. I got some Daisy upgrades out of the Terrifying pack, I think. Well, yeah, it was out of the Terrifying pack. Or maybe it was the Horrifying, whatever. I got some upgrades. I don't know where I got the Zomboni upgrades, unless it was from the same thing. It must have been. Yeah, paired, they seem kind of broken. I mean, not actually broken. I don't really have an opinion on them yet. I have rough ideas, and that's as good a place to start tonight as any. If anybody's seen any of the new Phobies in-game, so that I can get them in the collection so we can talk about them more easily, let me know, and I'll go poke through. This man right here on my screen accidentally bought a Terrifying pack. It's true, Scrungle. It's true. But yeah, if anybody knows, like, anyone who has games that we can look at that already have some of the, oh wow, I fell out of the top 100. I haven't played much Arena at all lately. I doubt we're going to play very many games tonight. So here's the Jill avatar. Hopeloy? I still don't know how to pronounce her name. I think I made someone surrender by spawning a tractor who was turn 6. A tractor can have that effect. Go to the leaderboard and go to... Okay, Silver, let me take a look. I'm just skipping through this because we're already in this game, just in case they have any of the new things. It would appear not. So what ones does Dios have? This is from today, so it's possible that it's here. I'm just going to skip through, see if we can find them. Oh, they have all of them? Really? Already? Even if you sunk in a bunch of money, like, that's a lot of pack luck to end up with it. So we have yet to see, this is from, yeah, hypothetically it could be in this game. Hypothetically. We haven't seen the Bad Omen bundle, promo, whatever, materialize yet. I think one of the announcements said that it was, oh wait. Here it is, chat. Werewolf. She has all the RNG ones, but not the one you can buy. Well, you can't buy it yet. That's the problem. So you literally cannot acquire Bad Omen right now, based on what they're saying. Keep going down to the one with the Speedola MVP? Okay. So here's Werewolf. I want to see the effect where it transforms. Like, I want to watch the effect. This thing looks so cool. That attack animation is awesome. Chat, I love it. I love it. Oh, there's the blue Speedola. Here's the thing that I don't... Oh, and we got a couple of them. We got Numbskull as well. The blue Speedola seems to be way better. Like, way better than the red Speedola. It's cheaper. It has a better stat setup, even though, like, the health is lower, but overall the stats are better compared to red Speedola. But both of them, when tag team is active, seem busted. Like, absolutely busted. Werewolf seems broken if you pair it with Blue Lean, because you can continuously heal the base version, which has low HP. So, one of the things that came up, well, there are two parts. One, somebody in the YouTube comments, because I recorded the video last week that went up today. So, I didn't know at the time how Werewolf worked. I was just kind of assuming. I thought that it was passive, and then people were correcting me, and then somebody in the YouTube comments today said that, yes, it is a passive ability. It's going to transform on its own, which seems appropriate. The thing is, I don't know, like, I don't quite understand. From what it sounded like, if I remember your comment correctly, Erk, you were saying that, say Werewolf took 1 damage in the wolf form. When it transforms to werewolf form, it takes 2 more damage to triple it. If I was understanding that correctly. But I don't know what happens. Say you take 1 damage in werewolf form. Does it divide by 3 and then round up or round down? Or does it just retain the damage? Or I don't know how that works, because that'll be relevant. How much can I figure out theory crafting-wise with that information? Probably not. I mean, we could walk through the scenarios, but we'll see. But I do like the potential on this, where it's just... Werewolf is a timing... And we'll get to this when I talk about it, so this is all going to be on repeat. But Werewolf is a timing-based phobie. Now, you know, we might as well talk about it. We'll skip through this game, and then now that I have it in the collection, we can go talk about it. Actually, we'll hold the thought. There was one you said where Speedola was a... Alright. We'll take a look at this one. So there's a Speedola. There's Numbskull, there's Werewolf. So we know they have both Speedolas, Werewolf, Numbskull. We haven't seen... Well, wait, so... 2 Speedolas, Werewolf, Numbskull, Daisy, Heal Zombie, that I can't think of the name of. So we're, and then Black, or Bad Omen, Black Cat, Bad Omen. And then there's one other one that we're missing. Let's say if the Werewolf is down to 500 health, then it transforms, it takes whatever the number is at, and triples it. Oh, so it triples the current, that's a better way of describing it. No, it doesn't seem like Dios has all of them right now. Although, somebody was saying that they did. We just haven't seen it, if they do. But I have 2 of them. One overlaps. So then we're missing... What's the one we're missing that we haven't seen yet, then? Let me pull up my list. So I made notes for the video that I put out today. to, you know, like different things I wanted to make sure I brought up just as like, oh, Edgar Allen. Edgar Allen, but that's an ultra rare, so that's not surprising that people wouldn't have it. Phobies count is 135 out of 141. Yeah, I don't think you can even get Bad Omen yet. I don't think you can get Bad Omen. Because it's supposed to only be purchasable until it rolls into, like, the regular distribution, the pack distribution. And then after that, you'll be able to get it in packs, but you won't be able to buy it from the thing. The problem is that the current setup, like, there isn't a bundle for it, and it sounds like they're doing those promotions weekly, so if that's the case, then we're not going to see it until next week. Like, literally no one can get it, is what I'm assuming. That may not be true. I don't know that for sure, but based on the announcements, it sounds like it's impossible to get Bad Omen right now. If somebody can, you know, confirm otherwise, then let me know. But yeah, so the only one that we don't have in client right now to talk about is Edgar Allen. And I can put it up on screen if we need to. I added all the maps that have been released to the bot and the Phobies that have been released. So if anybody's curious, hit up the Discord. The Phobie Finder will, in fact, find them. So, let's just go down the list. We'll get to Werewolf when we get to it. I don't know why my green screen is so weird today. Like, I'm very transparent today. And it seems to be different, like, every day, and I don't understand why. I'm tired of screwing with this thing. I need an actual green screen, I think. But I don't know if it's going to be lit better. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm, like, fading out, like, the one Marvel movie. Which, honestly, I never saw, chat. I know the memes with Spider-Man, but I don't know how the movie... I've never seen it. Quick aside, everybody, before we get into the actual content, I was accepted into the Phobies Content Affiliate Program, the content creator program, you might call it. Shout out to the Phobies team, and thank you for that. But the reason I'm telling you, everybody out there, dear viewer, dear listener, is to let everybody know that I do receive some compensation from the Phobies team as a result of being part of that program. Now, I loved Phobies before, and I still love Phobies now, and I expect I will still continue to love Phobies in the future. So look forward to more Phobies content coming from Random's Thoughts. So now, on with the show. But anyway, we'll just go down the list. We'll talk about the Phobies. We're just kind of hanging out tonight, so feel free to put in your 2 cents, chat. So, Numbskull. And this will all be a very funny time capsule, because I'll probably put this up, like, you know, this will go up around Thanksgiving at this rate. And it'll be funny to see what our initial thoughts are now, and then what they are when this happens. I could just strip this out and maybe load it up afterwards. So Numbskull, my initial impression is that it's okay. So I noted in the video that it starts with the same health as Boomer, and it obviously has a spectacular attack, both AoE and that it seems to be, excuse me, or not seems to be, it is above average. I didn't note what the average is, but the problem is the single movement. Is this the real Chomp or a pre-recorded vid? That's for you to decide, Slime. That's for you to decide. I don't know how I feel about Numbskull, because I feel like the one movement is really bad. That being said, I think on any small map, this thing's going to be a terror. I think on small maps, this is absolutely going to be horrifying. On larger maps, like picture this on Red Rum. I didn't put this in the video, and it's funny, when you produce content like this, as soon as I, like, finish rendering the video, I'm like, oh, I should have gone back and do all these other things. But at a certain point, you just have to, like, call it done. I don't know if Red Rum's in the pool right now. It's not. But picture, I mean, this isn't really a good facsimile thereof, but, like, this map, step right up. So, the big thing here is that, like, say you get the Numbskull down here. It can control this whole area, because if you inch up and hit something, it's like, if they try and come from multiple angles, anywhere where there's like this box, this coliseum, this arena, where you're forced to engage with this thing, it's going to be a problem. It actually is I think it's the second highest. This is the wrong thing. Maybe it's not officially the second highest because, like, AWOL and Boom exist. But Contortio, mine's leveled up. This is really high attack, is the point. This thing can push a lot of damage. And it might even get a second attack unless they full retreat, because it'll probably tank a bunch of hits. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of Boomer since it has the same health. The only upside is the movement on Boomer, but that's huge. That's the thing. The movement is huge. Your opponent can absolutely kite this thing, absolutely walk away. Like, how many Cerberus or even Erratic is different because Erratic has range, so it's effectively 3 range each turn. Like, you move up and then range of 2, as compared to Cerberus where it's range of 2, where it's move up, hit something that's adjacent, which is how Numbskull functions. So any of these one movement phobies definitely have a huge drawback. Is that going to matter? Given how tanky it is, I don't know. I mean, this seems like I'm excited to try out Numbskull. I could definitely see it get a lot of value on small maps. Larger maps, just because of the length of time it's going to take to get a 1-drop in. You want the 1-drop running around the map on large maps. You want them capping points. You want them body blocking. You want them getting in cheap shots. You don't want to wait an eternity for this thing to inch its way up and then just, claim the point? Like, it's not worth it. I think the damage should have been somewhere around 270 base. So, I may have to, when I edit this, future me, I may have to edit this to the beginning, but overall, my first impression, like initial impression, and I'll repeat this hopefully at the end if I remember, of all the phobies is a significant amount of power creep. It felt like stat-wise, every time I was taking notes, I'm like, well, this is above average, and then this is at least average, and even though it had above average in 2 areas and then average in another, or like 2 above averages, or, you know, the red Speedola, the more expensive one, is like, well, this isn't great until you hit the bonus, and then it's just bonkers. And it's like, all of these phobies seem really good. I hope I'm not overestimating them, or maybe I hope that I am, so that they're not dominating. They aren't dominating in the way that a tractor is, but statistically, they seem in a number of places to just kind of break the current pattern of how phobies are scored, for lack of a better way to put it, when you calculate their stats. I don't know. Numbskull can also work well with, like, a tractor. I mean, what doesn't work well with a tractor? Boomer? Like, that's about it. Yeah, being common is pretty good. I'm glad that we didn't just get, like, an expansion full of ultra rares or something. Maybe okay on maps like Vile Vortex or like and subscribe or and cut off choke points. Like and subscribe, maybe. I see what you're saying on Vile Vortex. The problem is both there and the big house, I could absolutely see people just lobbing this thing into oblivion. Honestly, it's not going to be a matter of whether it connects with Numbskull. The big thing for Numbskull to me is how many hits does it absorb? How many hits does it absorb? Because if it's able to force your opponent to dick around and spend like 8 attacks getting sunk into your 1-drop, that's humongous. 8 is an exaggeration, it'll probably be like 3. But if you have to spend 3 attacks on a 1-drop, that's at least 1 attack that should have gone somewhere else. It's not uncommon for like Cowbell to have to require 2 hits. A jar hit and then something significant. Maybe even 2 significant things. But at 1,000 health, this thing, similar to Ted and Jill, it's gonna probably require 3 hits, maybe 4. Maybe 4, especially on ladder where you know somebody's gonna end up with like a level 15 Numbskull, and it's gonna take your entire team to kill it. Because that's what happens. I don't know. I like Numbskull. I think it's going to be more niche than how I typically look at one-drops, but honestly, like Cat, Cowbell, Henrietta, Bachelor, Contortio, we have enough generic one-drops. And I mean, you can even make the argument for Electric Cat and Tickles, because they, you know, they just run around, they might tank a hit or two, they might get some damage in, as compared to the more niche ones like AWOL, where you have to babysit it, Sarcasm, where it's just super fragile, but maybe you get a big upside out of it. Muffin has its own uses. Ted and Jill, I tend to put in their own category because they are the one movers and have Resurrect. And Boomer is just, I don't know, I'm not a fan of Boomer. And Boom, obviously, is its own thing. You know, I defeat Minotaur, tartar sauce. You might end up with some sort of disease by eating this crab, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. What's it? Well, we don't have Omen. Don't have Omen available, which... Is that this? This is probably Omen. So let's talk about Daisy before we get to Werewolf, because Werewolf is probably going to be here for a while. So, I'm a Boomer fanboy. It's too useful for me, at least. I mean, Boomer... The dimensional pull, hypothetically, has value compared to head grab. The problem is, I just generally seeing it be irrelevant. I don't know that Boomer has ever impacted a game that I played. We saw it once impact like a viewer game breakdown where somebody like just body blocked with Boomer because the other guy just completely ignored it the entire game, so it just ran around and it capped like 18 points. It was on a Pluto map, or a Pluto game. I forgot who it was, but I don't know. But as far as Daisy goes, Daisy, I mentioned it in the video, but Daisy's big upside is the enormous attack. It actually is a really, really high base attack at 425. This is level 4, hence why it leveled up. Or it's higher because it leveled up. Honestly, it outclasses just about every 4-drop on level. Just about every 4-drop is worse than Daisy as far as damage goes. Daisy can be countered by Droney. Technically, any Phobie can. Technically. The thing is that Daisy, and I think I mentioned this in the video, that I feel Daisy is going to be a good invade Phobie. It's obviously not a turret. It can't hold a point because your opponent just goes, okay, I look at it funny, it disintegrates, right? But you absolutely can help supplement a push with Daisy because she's pushing a ton of damage. The high damage output means that you don't have to connect with as many hits. I think Daisy is going to have a tough time, though. Same damage as Cassowary, Primate, and Pterodactyl, yeah. Which are solid attacks. Like, those are solid attack values. Notably, that will kill jars on level. Now, are you really going to rush Daisy in to kill a jar? Probably not. Probably not. I do want Daisy to be good. Yeah, not too much, DT. I observed some games so we could get the Phobies in the collection. We're still missing Edgar Allen and obviously Bad Omen because I don't think anybody can get it yet. Hey, Hondo, it's good. So... Daisy, I don't know. I like it. I'm optimistic. My gut is telling me it's going to be bad. Because it's so fragile. It's not generally difficult to kill a jackalope, right? It's not generally difficult to kill a jackalope. Now, granted, Daisy has more health. But the thing is that I don't know that Daisy has so much more health that it requires an additional attack. Like, yes, there will be weird scenarios where they just can't do it in 2 attacks so the third Phobie can get in to kill it. But at 800 health, I think most of the time 2 attacks are going to take this down and then force it, like, the Daisy player just loses it. I think. I don't know if that'll be true. Daisy feels good to me, like fun to use, and Pluto seems menacing. I don't know. Honestly, Onda, I'm not sure. I'm inclined to disagree. Come on, baby. Come on, good girl. Harley, come. Give me 1 second, chat. Good baby. You can go sit on the couch. Good girl. No puppy cam. You can't really see her. She was having trouble getting past my work chair. It was just pulled out a little too far, and she's so gentle that she doesn't even want to, like, nose stuff out of the way. Although I get the chair's probably, it's like a cheap office chair. It's not like a big heavy chair. But yeah, Daisy, I'd be concerned on Pluto because you can kill it trivially. Don't get me wrong, 2 hits and then another phobie is not trivial in the sense of oops, it died. But it's certainly not a stabby. It's certainly not, it's not even a unicorn. A unicorn has more health than this. And that sometimes can just evaporate on that map. So, I don't know. It's possible because if you deal with your opponent's 1-drops, they can't necessarily get it. We'll have to see. Don't worry, Droney exists. I mean, yeah, exactly. Really want a werewolf today. Bad that I'm not happy to get another smother mother. Yeah, them's the breaks, pork. Daisy seems especially good if there's a scenario where there's lots of one-movement phobies or just few phobies in general. Yeah, I feel like Daisy's better if it can get lost in a mob where you already have your army and Daisy is, well, it's the glass cannon, so you protect it around the rest with the rest of your phobies protecting it, surrounding it, and then you advance and they're guarding Daisy kind of thing. I don't know. I like Daisy. I was very excited for Daisy. I'm not sure Daisy's going to work out, truthfully. I gotta see, because it's difficult for me to judge right now. And like I said, these are all hot takes. This is just my initial impression. I haven't played any games with these. You know, it's just the first thing that comes to mind when I see these. And in this case, it just feels like the fragility is really going to hold it back. And I'm not saying that it needs much more health, but maybe it needed a little bit more. I don't know. I can tell you right now, there will be a lot of daisies early on that accidentally start pushing up daisies because people underestimate opposing forces, overestimate daisy's sturdiness, that sort of thing. So we'll see. We'll see. I am excited for Daisy. Like I said, I want to try all these out. I want to use them. It might be a little bit before I can really get Daisy going unless we do some viewer game challenges and then I can force it there. Because at level 4, if I'm going up against a bunch of people that are level 10, Daisy's just gonna suck, right? Although, honestly, I think she puts out more damage than 496. So not quite, almost. Puts out more damage than my Hevo. But the Hevo also has an enormous health pool, so... What do I think about the Robo Wrestlers and Zomboni? Haven't gotten there yet. I do encourage everybody to watch my video just because I need the numbers on YouTube. Likes and subscribes. Or come by the live stream, RTChompGG, and then you can hear me tell you to go watch YouTube. If you have a lot of firepower and summon Daisy, something will have to step on it so your opponent won't go and sacrifice whatever they have unless it's some low keys. That point, just try to protect it. That's why I'm saying I think Daisy is better if it can get lost in a crowd. If you can present your opponent with enough threats that it's like, hey, anything you target here, the other ones are going to annihilate it. But at that point, aren't you just winning? Does it matter that it's Daisy as opposed to any other phobie? I don't know. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier on. Now, I don't understand why YouTube picks certain things to promote stuff, because there were 4 different Phobies shorts that went live on Monday, yesterday. One of them is at like 1.2k views. The others have not even cracked 100, and I have no idea why. Like, literally none. And almost, it's like 60-40 of likes to dislikes. No idea why. Like, it makes no sense. YouTube is weird. YouTube is weird. But anyway, other 4 drop. So this is the one that everybody wants to talk about, obviously. So, Werewolf, as pointed out by Irk on the video, the one that I put up today. At the time I recorded it, just to repeat myself, again, content affiliate, they give me stuff, including information, as you can tell. I recorded the video before we knew how Werewolf worked. Werewolf seems to go into transformation and come out of transformation automatically. And it's going to sort of scale the damage that it takes. So, like, if you take, as Irk described, say you took 450 damage at level 1. So you're down to 500. It's going to triple it to 1500. Now, the thing that I'm unsure of is when you come out of the transform. I mean, I'm assuming that it does not work this way, because the simplest thing would be, say you transform, you're at 1500 health. You take 100 damage, so you're down to 1400. What it's probably going to do is just divide that number by 3. And it's not going to do some other weird calculation or something like that to try and, like, scale it. It's probably just multiplying and dividing by 3, which means that there likely is going to be some rounding at some stage. So you could end up with weird scenarios where, I mean, it's not going to die by transforming back, but you aren't necessarily always going to be able to predict exactly how much HP it's going to have in one form or the other. But the one thing that I mentioned when we were trying to skim games to find this, my thoughts on Werewolf is this is a timing phobie. I know that sounds kind of dumb given that it's, well, yes, clearly, Chomp, it's a timing phobie. It automatically transforms, you idiot. Yes, that's how it works. But here's the thing. Let's talk about real-time strategy games for a second. When you talk about StarCraft or Warcraft or any of the other ones that are out there, timing attacks are ones that are not, oh, well, I'm going to build up my ultimate army and I'm going to do this. I want to hit at 3 minutes and 35 seconds exactly. I want to show up at my opponent's base with this army comp and just annihilate them at this particular time. Or at 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Why? Because I'm going to catch my opponent when they're trying to do an economic transition, when they're trying to expand, when they're trying to switch tech trees, while they're still building up their forces. Your opponent is vulnerable at a certain point in time, and you are peaking at your strength. So you're going up, they're going down. You time your attack, hence timing attack, and you show up, and then you just drop the hammer, and you try and close the game either right then and there and end the game, or cause so much crippling damage that they can't come back from that point. Yes, Morbid, that's an example, but not the only one. Now, the thing, why that relates to Werewolf is you want to set up Werewolf when you think you are going to peak. So let's say you go first, or excuse me, you go second. Well, I guess it could be first. We'll say it's probably easier if we do it this way. Say you're going second on a small map. So first player gets 3 keys, second player gets 4 keys, right? You pop out Werewolf on turn 1. So presumably what's happening is we didn't, because I didn't look at the game this closely, but if it counts down like everything else at the end of your turn, so it'll transform on your turn 3, turn 4, you know, whenever that is, that's when you expect to peak. And you need to be taking full advantage of the Werewolf. You can't afford to take damage before that on it because you don't want it to scale poorly. You can't push in with it, although it does have 3 movements. So on turn 1, maybe you run and cap a point and then get the hell out of dodge sort of thing. And then the idea is that on your second turn and your third turn, you supplement with the rest of your team. And then you try and leverage the Werewolf who has transformed and just clobber your opponent. Now, On turn 3, is that really feasible? I don't know, but it's the easiest example to illustrate it so that, you know, you can get the sequencing. Judging when that's going to happen later in a game, especially as the game, well, it's probably going to be a bell curve. Towards the end of the game, you can probably predict. But because it spikes in power and not this consistent level like every other phobie, pretty much, well, not every other phobie. Most other phobies are in a line, right? They pop out, they have their thing. But any of the ones with abilities have this spike ability. Picture, I don't know, Snowball, Murder Wing, Rambolina, Attractor. When their abilities are up, power level's high. When their abilities are down, power level's lower. Same sort of thing with Werewolf. So you try and set up these turns where you're able to just get a huge advantage. Werewolf transforms on turn 1, or 1 turn after its spawn, though, when he spends 2 turns in each form. Well, I mean, the point still stands. The timing is different. That he'll transform faster. I was just trying to illustrate it from turn 1, so that people could get the idea. If that's the case, that it transforms faster the first time, that's fine. But the idea is that you are trying to set up when the wax and the wane, the apex of the particular power spikes are. See, I would have thought that it's 2 turns afterwards. That's why I started with that. But Urk is saying that it's happening 1 turn afterwards, so it'll come online much faster. I mean, we can go back and look at Dios' game again and see when. Werewolf looks like you do a lot of plays with its 3 attack and its transformability. I can't see what people do with it. It's going to be really interesting, Salesman, because the potential for it is super high. You watched a video from the guy that has it? Okay. It's the beginning of the Werewolf player's turn. That would make sense. That would make sense. I wasn't watching that closely when we had the other game up. I was just kind of skipping through it. It transforms on its 2nd turn. So you spawn it. Wait, then I'm misunderstanding it. All right, we're just going to go look at this because this is relevant to the discussion. Because now I'm confused as to what you're saying. I think it was this game. So we'll skip to find the werewolf and then we'll come back, like rewind it. Oh, there we go. I didn't realize it came out this early. Werewolf feels strong on a map with healing spot. If Werewolf gets damaged and back off in wolf form, put a healing spot and run back to the battle full HP. Yeah, I think things like that will absolutely give you an advantage where you can get in, do what you need to do. It's likely too big to just die. You get out, heal up, and then you're ready to go again. Just like in waves. Alright, so Werewolf comes out on turn 8. Dios' next turn, it is not transformed yet. So yes, start of the 2nd turn. This is the timing that I was thinking of. So if you did it on turn 1, then your 2nd turn, then your 3rd turn, like I was originally saying, is when the werewolf would come out. So the timing is still consistent with what I was describing earlier. Now, do I think you pop it out on turn 1 if you're going 2nd? I mean, honestly, I don't hate the idea, depending on the scenario. I think it's worth trying because you could absolutely bully somebody around. Yeah, it'll go back and forth on its own, Morbid. The only thing I didn't check was when it powers down. I assume it's also start of turn, because I don't think there are any phobies that their abilities work at opposite ends of the turn. I guess gargles, but not really. Yeah, not really. But I do like the potential for Werewolf. I do think there's a lot of potential here. I mean, it's already solid because it's a 3-move phobie. Yeah, and at level 1, this is huge. This is enormous, this thing. 2 turns small, 2 turns big. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah, chat's got it covered. This is going to be really interesting, and so far, out of the few phobies we've looked at from the update tonight, this one sort of worries me a little bit. I wonder how it upgrades insane scaling. They're all going to be the same, basically. They're all 3% increases within rounding differences. All phobies increase that way. And this is triple of this. So it should maintain that, I assume. But it's like a Quagmire that you can heal stupid fast if there's a spa or if you have Boolean. Yeah. I mean, granted, Quagmire, I'd have to sit and do the math to see, like, which one heals faster. Because Quagmire, of course, is healing every turn, whereas Werewolf has to heal for less, sort of, because it is going to be scaled up, technically, for the transformed version, and also has to find a healing spot, but still. Good luck, salesman, because it is an ultra rare. It is an ultra rare. I don't know. I'm excited about it. I'm a little concerned because it feels like... I mentioned it earlier that pretty much across the board with the new phobies, they all feel like they are power crept on stats. Not necessarily to a huge degree across the board. Some more than others. But just about all of them are like, yeah, my stats are super duper huge. Super duper huge. You know, honestly, chat, I think the biggest thing is I'm going to be super confused every time I see a werewolf on the board, trying to figure out when it's transforming and when it's not. I think it's going to throw me off every time. It's going to take a while. Like I said earlier, chat, I wasn't planning on streaming tonight because I'm beat. I'm super tired. I'm apparently also invisible because my green screen thinks that my black shirt is green. I don't know. But anyway, I am excited for Werewolf. Since it's an ultra rare, it's entirely possible I won't see it for, like, forever. There should be a timer on his card. It will, but it's going to be weird, like me trying to figure out when the effect starts and ends. I don't think it'll take that long to get used to it, but it's going to be a little bit. Alright, Slime, thanks for hanging out. Take it easy. Have a good night. Alright, chat. So what, Alright, so 5s. Blue Speedola. This is the better Speedola, I think. It's solid HP. Like, it's pretty high up there. We're talking more than my level 9 Cyclops at level 1. Has almost as much HP. I don't... Like, where are my notes? Yeah, only Quagmire has higher... Well, yeah, Quagmire is a 5. Quagmire is the only one that I found that had a higher HP at this level. How many did they add? 8 total. 8 total, although technically you can't get one right now. The, 2-drop, the Black Cap, Bad Omen. He's misanthropes, big bro. The thing is that this guy is good on its own. I think this is a solid 5-drop on its own. Now, it has no abilities, you know, like, we're saying that it has nearly Quagmire HP, but every other 5-drop is representing something, I guess, unique about it. You know, you have traps, you have range, you have a ton of damage, you have healing, you have electrical damage, you have a power down, 3 move, and huge damage. AoE poison, disease, healing spas, yoinks, etc. The difference here is when Tag Team gets live, a 550 damage 3 move phobie, that's bonkers. That's bonkers. I wonder if this is going to fall off, because it is just a big dummy that punches good. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Forgo. I don't know why they did that, but, I mean, it's fine. I think it's more interesting that the blue Speedola is rare and the red Speedola is common, because it's red and blue respectively for the rarities. I don't know if that was done intentionally or not, but I'm sure it was. But yeah, these both seem really good. We might as well look at the other half while we're here. This one is not as strong, but it's still pretty good. The two have different attack and idle animations. That's pretty cool. I mean, they look physically different. Yes, the cards look similar. Well, actually, they don't. They do represent it. So, like, this guy has the belt and stuff, whereas this guy has, like, the over-the-shoulder going. The 1-2 punch of these guys is going to be super explosive, and I talked about it in the video, but you go red Speedola into blue Speedola, and it's just like, all of a sudden, I'm on top of you. I'm on top of you. Interesting that the rare is lower key cost. I guess. I mean, we have ultra rares that are super low cost. If you're trying to pair it or keep it within the pairing, I guess. It's the same for Ted and Jill. Jill does more damage and Ted has more health. I don't know. I really like these guys. I'm a little concerned about the 3 movement, truthfully. The 3 movement kind of scares me. Because they're going to be zipping around the board, and they're just going to lay the smackdown on a whole lot of people. The 3 movement feels a little bit much. I feel like these things would be... If they just got a 100 damage boost, I think it would be pretty lame. If they got more than a 100 damage boost, it might actually be problematic. Say they got 200 or 300 damage for having the other one on the board. That would be really scary for other reasons. The movement is weird. I don't know. I feel like they should have gotten a different ability. Maybe they get a leap when they're tag teamed or something. I don't know. I'm anxious to see how these do. Because again, as I mentioned before, it feels like these were power crept to an extent, stat-wise, and they also have this buff which makes them even more powerful, just from a stats perspective. Not even, you know, they're not doing anything necessarily unique as far as abilities go. I mean, I guess they kind of are, because they're the only ones that gain a movement bonus in this way, but they're still... I think they're really strong. I think they're going to be really good. This guy, I think, is probably playable on his own. It's just a big dummy 5-drop. Most of the time, I don't think people are going to be doing that, because if you have a 5-drop or 5 keys, you're probably going for something like this, rather than the random melee guy, but I mean, you could. Alright, we can check that out on it. I'll mention it again. If anybody sees anyone with Edgar Allen, let me know, because then we'll go add that to the collection so we can talk about it. If not, I'll just put the picture up on screen. Was there another 5? I don't think so. So we talked about the red Speedola a little bit. Like I said, I think this one's worse. It costs more. Doesn't do as much damage. The HP is higher, but it is close enough to... Or rather, the blue Speedola's HP is good enough, I guess, is the way I'd put it. So I don't know that paying an extra key for this thing is worth it, but, I mean, it's still good. It's still good. Damage over HP any day, unless it's AWOL. I mean, AWOL is still fine. As long as AWOL can tank a hit from other little things, that's all I really care about most of the time. So, the 6 cost, which Phobies team did give me, is this one. It's Zomboni. I'm actually really curious about this one. I'm having trouble getting a read on it because I saw Edgar and March. Alright, we'll take a look then. Okay, cool. We'll do that after I go through Zomboni. So, Zomboni, I don't know if anybody has seen this happen yet, but I don't know if you can get the heal when you don't have 400 health left. or however much health is left. I'm assuming you can. And I said as much in the video, because we already have things that can sacrifice themselves, such as Muffin and the Boom family. So I assume Z-Emergency will allow you to off the Zomboni in order to help out the rest of your team. Zomboni is really a team player. The thing that I also mentioned in the video is that in order to get a lot of value out of this, you need to heal multiple things. Because even off the bat, so this heals 436, right? Granted, this is a little bit higher, but it's only 3 levels. Basically, you get double for half the cost. Now, it's only single target, but how often do you need to heal multiple things? Whether it's poison, it's just a bunch of damage. It would be nice to heal multiple things, don't get me wrong. Every game, people have multiple damage phobies. But do you really want to spend 6 keys for this? I don't know. It's pretty fragile. It is ranged. Its attack is somewhat anemic. If you can leech life a few times, it can heal a lot. Yeah, it can heal very frequently. So, like, you could very quickly get something back into the fray. And getting 2 heals off. So you heal, keep it in reserve. You know, like, you're getting your, like... Say you heal 2 phobies. One is really damaged and poisoned. The other's somewhat damaged. You heal those. Then you wait a turn. You get another heal off. That's a lot of value. Yeah, Blue Alien has a 1-turn cooldown. Maybe, yes, its range and can actually serve as part of your team. It's serviceable, but it's not pushing a ton of damage. I mean, I guess it is. This is okay, but I'm really measuring it against things that are closer to 500, but this is also a 6-level difference, so... I think this is decent. The way I would get this over Leshy if... Over this... Yeah, I think I'd probably use this over Leshy. It's cheaper, like key cost-wise. The cooldown... You know, the range. There's a lot of factors. The way I put it in the video is the scenarios where Zomboni is going to be good, you're going to break your opponent, like, on the spot. You're going to pop out Zamboni and the game's just going to end. Because it's like, oh, you just barely whiffed killing a bunch of my guys. You're going to get them next turn or whatever. Alright, I'll pull back. I'll Zomboni, wait a turn, Zomboni again. And then, oh look, everybody's full health again? That's pretty backbreaking. Now, that being said, even if you get 2 full heals from this thing, it's still only like 1 Clinico heal. So... it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. I really picture this being a more niche heal, but I could... It's not impossible for this thing to also be busted. Yeah, I could see that too, Urk, where you need it. You want a healer and you need additional forces. You don't hate yourself for Zomboni, whereas you kind of hate yourself for Clinico, right? Because a Clinico plus Murder Wing... I guess that's the thing. Let's assume you don't need to heal 2 or more phobies at once. Is this better than Clinico plus Murder Wing? Maybe? I mean, most of the time, anytime that I need a healer, 60% of the time, it's going to be Muffin every time. Realistically, it's Muffin first every time, right? This would be better if it could heal undead. We talked about that before the patch. I don't think they're... Well, I don't want to say they'll never break those rules, such as poisons that can affect mechanicals or things like that, but I kind of hope they don't. But this is... It's very interesting. I like the idea of this. I'm very curious. This one, as compared to the other ones, I am less confident in because it's so new what it does comparatively. Yes, we had Leshy. Yes, we had pseudo effects like Z-Emergency, not necessarily life leeching, but, you know, or life trading, whatever. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe it provides more heal, and by the time it kills itself healing, you already got a lot of value from constantly healing your existing phobies. I think that is the best case scenario, Urk, but I don't know that that case is actually going to materialize. So that's the issue I have with Zomboni is most healers... Now, again, Zomboni can actually be a real phobie. It can actually engage and do stuff. As compared to Clinico, where it's like, I'm healing and I'm doing nothing else. Or Muffin, I'm just dead. Most of the time, I just want one heal. I don't care about doing other stuff. I don't care about having to heal multiple times. Now, there absolutely have been games where I wished I had time to heal multiple times, and Clinico wasn't coming back online fast enough. Enter Zomboni. So I think there are scenarios where Zomboni is going to play very well, but I got Muffin and Honey Bear. They're really good so far when I use them. They're absolutely great, salesman. They're great. But I do like Zomboni. I think Zomboni has potential. I'm leaning towards its more niche. Zomboni has strangely white teeth for a zombie. Oh, it's the magic. It's the magic. Or something. I don't know. It just clicked in my head. Isn't Muffin a reference from that one Muffin song where the Muffin sings he wants to die? What? I mean, if there is a song like that, I'll assume that it is, but I've never heard of that. How does it compare to other healers? It is worse than all of them from a healing perspective, other than, Blue Leon. Just because Blue Leon has very low because it's the healing spot. And even then, it probably beats it if something sits on the healing spot multiple times. Yeah, without a name, I'm not sure. I don't know. Zomboni is an undead witch doctor? Or shaman, or just witch. We're not really sure. But to go back to your question, Morbid, it is... You have to either hit multiple things, or you have to get repeated heals in order to make Zomboni better than the other healers. Single target heal, it's just worse. But there are other things to make up for it. So it's not as clear-cut or as clean as single target, get Clinico. Multi-target, get Zomboni. Because, well, the key cost is already a big factor, but also the AoE part, the cooldown part. I mean, obviously, the life leech plays in. Sacrifice. I'm excited to run Zomboni. I'll be honest with you, chat. I know I said I was going to take a look at that game, but is there... Yeah, that's the last phobia, because the only other one is Black Omen. Bad Omen. Marsh... What was it, 712? Who is the game against? Oh, I'm sorry, chat. I'm beat. Not my usual streaming night, so I'm super tired. Alright, so this game is supposed to have Edgar Allen. Oh, newest game? I thought this was the one Onda said. There's, in fact, not an Edgar Allen in this game. Newest game, Mysomania. Okay, Polar. I just want to skip to Edgar Allen, and then we'll talk about that one. There it is. So this is coming out on turn 3. The attack from... whatever the hell this thing's name is. Numbskull was weird. So here is our other phobie. Edgar Allen. Why does it have, like, this cross on its chest? Does Russell have that? This replay is pretty cool. Well, we'll talk about it, and then I'll rewind it so we can watch it. So, Edgar Allen... Let me see my notes, because I don't remember exactly where, like... So, it has slightly above average HP, slightly lower than average damage. It buffs itself, notably. But the real thing is, are you ever going to... I don't know. Ability looks insane. It's good, but you need to hit at least 2 relevant phobies before it is even... Like, 2 other relevant phobies, assuming Edgar Allen itself is relevant. You gotta hit 3 relevant phobies total to make it even with a Gonzo Bonzo. 4 to beat it. Now, that isn't hard and fast because, of course, if everybody's spread out, this has better value in the event that you can't just, like, snipe something with Gonzo. Plus, it's more mobile. You know, there's a variety of different things. And even if you aren't sniping things, it does allow, like, a jar to suddenly be very threatening where it might not otherwise be. Ugh. Yeah. He uses it pretty well here. Well, before we go and see how they use it, my initial thought is I'm underwhelmed by Edgar Allen. But it's just such a potential... Like, the upside potential on this is just so much that it's hard to... Like, I say that I'm hesitant about it, but at the same time, there's so many scenarios I'm picturing in my head where you just end the game and there's nothing your opponent can do because if they... It unlocks after a turn, right? So if they do anything but run away, Edgar Allen probably... Like, if they don't obliterate you, you're going to just absolutely wipe them off the face of the map kind of thing. If they come after you. So it's tough. But chat's saying let this play. So yeah, I don't know. My initial reaction is that it feels like it's slightly too low on the damage, but I can't picture wanting much more damage. Because that's just asking for disaster kind of thing. You can't make it say 150. Maybe 125. It feels like 100 is where it needs to be. But at the same time, I don't know. Alright, I knew they were going to do it this turn. So they kill the sheep, but what else do they get out of this? Probably the cassowary. Did you actually need the damage from that? 1, 2, 3. You might have been better off. Well, I take it back. You could have killed this with the Edgar Allen itself. This allowed the Edgar Allen to be safe. More damage would be broken. Exactly, DT. Maybe more base damage for the actual regular attack for Edgar Allen. The damage on the ability because of the scaling by having multiple phobies is just way too dangerous. It's way too dangerous. So this is a 3-turn cooldown. Honestly, I think this is way better than Russell. I think that it's better than Russell. I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, Polar here just kind of walked into the Raven play. Sack and Cassowary here is a weird choice. Yeah, there's some weird stuff. I just want to see if there's a second activation. I want to see if there's a second activation. I think it's off cooldown next turn, or obviously they probably would have done it now. Ooh, it's a daisy. You know, a little daisy action on top of everything else. This could be very interesting. Hey, Taco, what's good?
I needed that.
Sure. I don't really understand this play, but it could just be these players are showing off the phobies, too. Oh, this still isn't off cooldown. I thought it was. Oh my god, an Alistor. That's gonna be brutal. Did everybody catch the... Yeah, you saw that, Scrungle? Daisy pulls one of her fangs off and then scratches her back. That's actually hilarious. Oh, and I am just exhausted, chat. That's why I'm not playing any games tonight. I'm just too tired. I only got the horrific pack bundle because otherwise I would honestly forget, and I missed the $1 terrifying pack. Yeah, I don't know more, but I think they're just showing off the phobies and doing stuff. Dead erratic. So we did get a second activation. So verdict on Edgar Allen. I think the biggest thing for this phobie is it just makes your opponent's life miserable. Just the threat of things. This is a phobie that feels like it's going to be way better in Arena than Async. Because your opponent's math gets really complicated really fast. Yes, it's just tack on 100 at this level, but it'll be more. This is going to make life super complex for your opponent. Because no matter where they move, they're going to be in trouble. I think any other 7 key would have gotten the same results. Maybe. Even just using him as Scarecrow is pretty good. Yeah, it's one of those phobies that maybe it's not... People are probably going to fear it initially and be like, oh my god, they're going to come out and they're going to hit me for 1,000,000 damage because they're going to buff their whole team. And then people are going to realize, wait, the buff isn't that big. Let me calculate it and figure out, you know, can I live? And then it's going to come back down in value. And then maybe it goes back up in certain situations. Because I think at a certain point, you know, like the better players at the top of the ladder are not going to be intimidated by the potential. They're going to only react to what can actually happen, not what could potentially happen. I mean, mental game is right. It's just... I don't know how long that or how far that's going to carry you. Like, people are going to figure it out. If Edgar Allen user has higher levels, it'll be better. Yes. Like, how much is 100 damage at level 1? Like, that's pretty significant. But I don't know how many breakpoints it hits. It's a lot. You have to check every breakpoint of, like, okay, well, now my Hevo couldn't kill this, but now it will kill this in one shot. And so on down the line. Because if it's 100 damage and it doesn't make you have to invest one less attack somewhere, it doesn't matter. I think everybody's underestimating the potential. The potential is astronomical. I don't mean to downplay the potential. Because it will absolutely win games for people. It's going to come down on the board and your opponent's going to go, I cannot win. See, but that's part of the problem, Morbid, is if it's an even-numbered matchup, it only matters if everybody's hitting identical breakpoints. So, to elaborate, let's assume everything's at level 1, right? Your Hevo at level 1 does not one-shot a 1 key. Your 5 key does not one-shot a 1 key. Except for maybe, like, boom. However, if you have this buff, does it one-shot something? That's not a great example, but I think it's the most straightforward example. The other way to look at it is your Phobies, 2 Phobies, have to sink 3 total attacks into 1 Phobie to get it in 1 cycle. You know, like, you already have 1 in position, 1 moves up, the combination will kill it. Now, with the buff, you only have to do 1 set of attacks. Like, it only takes 2 attacks instead of 3. That means the other Phobie is potentially cleared up to go do something else. That's the big advantage with Edgar Allen. It represents an enormous amount of flexibility. It's not just simply, I'm all-inning you and I'm going to blow up your team. You can do other things. I just don't know how often that's going to come up, because I can't really... The scenarios where this is going to get used is just super complex. If you have 6 Phobies and they hit 2 extra times, it's 1,200 extra damage. That would be the perfect situation. So, for example, in a Heart Rush situation, this thing is probably bonkers. Because an extra 400 damage is presumably not unreasonable to ask in a Heart Rush situation, and significant. It's like a whole extra Phobie attack. I don't know, you spend 7 keys to use it every 3 turns, it's just going to sit there and do nothing most of the time. It can't even protect your team that's already not as strong as it could be because you wasted 7 keys. To me, it is wholly contingent on a single use. If you get 2 uses out of this, that is just an outlier game. We just watched a game where that happened, but like, if that happens, it's an outlier. You're not stalling to get another Edgar Allen activation. Generally. If you get 1 activation off, is that activation worth it? And I think there are going to be plenty of scenarios where it is. Is it better than just arbitrary other 7-drop? And I think the answer is it depends. Of the ones that have abilities, like, we're not going to group these together with Edgar Allen. We're talking like Mr. Tramples. If Mr. Tramples gets 2 kills or causes 2 kills because of its ability, is that better than Edgar Allen? I don't know. Is that more likely than Edgar Allen? I'm not sure. And I think that's the basis that you're going to have to judge it on. Given that it's an ultra rare, we're not going to see people with this, like, unless we do frenemies battles. We're not going to see people with on par Edgar Allens for a while. I don't know. I am of 2 minds. I can absolutely see this thing being bonkers, but I could also absolutely see it being fringe. And those 2 things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. You could end up just obliterating people in a handful of games every once in a blue moon with Edgar Allen, and then in other games, you don't even consider getting it. The scary thing about the cause, it can hit over and over again if the user decides to keep Russell alive. That'll never happen. Now, and when I say these things in absolutes, that'll never happen or that always happens, obviously I'm not saying it'll literally never, ever possibly happen. I've done it. But even if somebody does that, I'm not even sure it's scary. In all seriousness. Having forced Russell in a lot of games at this point, or significant amount of games, the poison is virtually irrelevant. And if you do what seems to be the optimal plan for Russell, which is wait until basically the end of the game, you're not going to get more activations off because the game is just going to end. I think it's obviously more likely for Edgar Allen to do that because it's shorter cooldown. It comes out sooner. It also has a more generically powerful ability than Russell, I think. Because you can, if your opponent happens to have mechanical phobies, if there happens to be a healing spa or a healer phobie on the board or available, you can just neutralize Russell and then it's like it did nothing. Yes, healing spas and healing phobies impact Birdbath, but at the same time, you can just one-shot something and it's like, great, your healer does nothing. So if we were directly comparing the two, I would take Edgar Allen. Like if I had to choose between Russell and Edgar Allen, I'd take Edgar Allen. Alright, Taco. I have an idea for skins. Either a phobia with a full body suit, it could show a little shirt icon above it to say it has a skin. That would be interesting because I've thought of similar stuff. I don't remember if we talked about it on stream. I'm sure we have similar ideas, not literally that idea. The problem is it still requires clicking on the phobia to figure out what it is. Now, that being said, one way they could resolve it is if you click on the card, obviously you can pull up the card, but like the bottom does not get affected by the skin. Maybe that's sufficient. If I had to choose, I would choose both. I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice, Forgo. I don't know. I do like the idea of Edgar Allen. I think it has a lot of potential. I was starting out saying I'm underwhelmed, but I don't think that's accurate. I don't think it's accurate for me to say that I'm underwhelmed. Because the potential is just too high. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to add. I don't know, I like this guy. I do like this guy. I think he has potential, but at the same time, it's just going to be numbers. What if it was 1 key cheaper? It would probably be broken. If it was a 6 cost, with this everything else same, I think it'd be broken. If they ever introduce skins, it'll probably be another community event if the community gets to make some. I think that'd be a good idea, Eric. I mean, it would depend on the criteria, of course. Like, they would have to limit it. It would work with my play patterns better than most other people's. Would it? Because you're all about turrets and slow things. So your opponent can just walk away from them and then try and pick you off with superior mobility. I feel like Edgar Allen, like in my head, I'm picturing jars. I'm picturing snowballs. I'm picturing, I mean, I guess Werewolf. Anything with long range and or long movement. So that's the other one, chat. Or skins can have Phobies icon float over the head like a shirt icon, just show what the phobia is. Possibly. And turn on automatically, but you can turn it off by clicking the phobia. I want to see someone use Edgar Allen and Russell both on the field live. It would be pretty cool. I don't dive one big damage dealer, which is where Gonzo shines. I guess. I see what you're saying there, DT. I mean, you absolutely have to be wide, right? You can't... You're not using Edgar Allen in place of Gonzo or Scritch, because that doesn't make much sense. I like Bad Omen. So Bad Omen is interesting. This is, as announced by the Phobies team, going to be available first as you can just purchase this phobie, which I do want to talk about that first, chat. So you will be able to purchase Bad Omen in some sort of bundle, presumably like the last couple deals that we've gotten. Then it will be available in packs. So, as mentioned on many points earlier, I don't believe you can acquire Bad Omen right now. Like, I think it's literally impossible. In general, I like the idea of being able to just straight up buy a phobie. However, I am very curious what this is going to cost, because the question came up in my Discord, and I don't know the price. I have no idea. I'm going to find out when everybody else does. But I feel like this is... It has the potential to be a very positive step for Phobies, or it could be an enormously bad idea. I think that... if I had to guess, I would expect that you would... It's probably going to be like 20 bucks. Which, depending on what else it's bundled with, because I see chat saying maybe if you get the Avatar with it or something. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Bad Omen, Avatar, and a Terrifying pack for like 20 bucks. I don't know what the actual price of the Avatar is or the Terrifying pack, let alone in relation to this, but... Yeah, exactly, Eric. It's going to depend on what else shows up. I would expect this to be minimum... I said minimum $10 initially, but I think it's probably going to be closer to 20. I think it's going to be closer to 20. Just to set the precedent. And... Am I going to buy it if it was $20? Because to me, the Avatar is worthless. I don't care. It literally has no value to me. If it came with other stuff, like it will probably... So here's my prediction for the bundle. It'll be the Avatar, the card, and a 7-day boost. And I don't... So the Avatar is $3. How much is the 7-day boost? $125 coffee, which is... We'll say 2 of these, so like $2. No, this is 1 day. Never mind. I'm looking at the wrong thing. So a little over, probably we'll round up and say $3, even if it's not. So $6 there. So Avatar, XP boost, card. I could still see this costing $20. If that was the bundle. And again, I don't know what it's going to be, but I could absolutely see that being $20. Is that worth it? I don't know. Will I do it? I'm leaning towards yes. I would be very unhappy about it, I think. Even at $15 for just the card, I don't know. I do think this thing is good, and we'll get to that in a second. But I'm not, I don't know, I'm not super enthusiastic, depending on what the price is. I'm very curious what it's going to be. So, as to the actual card, chat's debating the stats. It's... So, like, to give you a comparison, my level 11 Razormouth is under 800 health. If I pull up the spreadsheet with all the stats... Because Bad Omen... So, it has above average health. If you remove the Resurrect Phobies from the 2-cost pool, it still has above average health, just it's closer to average because the Resurrect Phobies bring it down. I mean, the other ones do too, but... It has a slightly below average attack, but not much lower. What does CCG mean? Collectible card game. I might get it, so I already have it and won't get it later for an ultra rare. Well, when you roll for an ultra rare, you could still get it because you get upgrade cards. If you're talking about like, like opening a pack or anything. But yeah, I mean, attack-wise, yes, it's somewhat anemic. I think the damage debuff is pretty good because odds are you will get... I don't think it's unreasonable to expect to get multiple Phobies with this. And even if you don't, it will most likely survive the retaliation. I think it'll most likely survive the retaliation. Because 250... Remember, this is a level 1 Phobie. This is the same debate as it was with Russell. Or with Edgar Allen, because you have to look at it at level 1, because it's going to scale. The debuff will go up, the other stats will go up. So you compare it against the other level 1 phobies. And when you do that, there's a lot of things that just straight up go to 0 or close to 0 with 250 attack removed. It's a fairly significant number. And the link to the spreadsheet is in my Discord. It's in the official Phobies Discord. But it's not. It's a relevant debuff, even on a single target. And here's the thing. It is way, way cheaper. Yeah, so Blondie is the good comparison. Since chat's bringing that up. Trying to find the number. Blondie is negative 300 attack at level 1. Even a 2 Phobies connection on a small map would be worth it? Absolutely, Mosca. This thing, tell me this thing is not going to bully you out in the early game on a small map. It's just going to make your 1 keys useless. Or close to useless. It's like, yeah, they'll hit it, and okay, I'll walk away, and I'll do it again. It's the Goofy meme. So at level 1, Razormouth goes down to 50 attack. It has 300. Electrocat deals 0 damage. Henrietta deals 0 damage. Sockassin deals 0 damage. They'll get their poisons. Cowbell does 25 damage. Contortio does 60 damage. 6-0. Ted does 0 damage. Jill does 20 damage. Bachelor does 0 damage. Tickles does 0 damage. You want to talk about 2 drops? Sucky does 50. Gesundheit does 250. And keep in mind, you're going to move in to do this. So you're going to turn off this phobia and they're going to retaliate and you're going to live. There's a whole lot of phobies that basically do 0 damage. There's a lot of higher key support phobies with 300 attack too. Exactly, DT. This is why, when we were talking about Edgar Allen, and I kept waffling, this is why, is because Edgar Allen makes, compared to Bad Omen, Edgar Allen, I think, is way more complex because you need all these pieces to fall into place. Like, you need multiple phobies, they had to have been positioned already, they need to be able to connect, or you get the scenario where your opponent just makes an oopsie one turn and you just evaporate their board. As compared to this seems much more straightforward to me, but is the same sort of scenario where when you look at it level 1 to level 1, you're going to bully people with this. Yeah, chat's saying it. You're going to, early game, you're going to bully people. Even on bigger phobie sites? I assume that was supposed to be... Oh, I see. Even on bigger phobies, it's good. Take a Klepto down to half damage. Yes. Does damage debuff get replaced by a damage buff, not counting stim? I think you can have the debuff and the buff together. So you're saying if you Gonzo or Edgar Allen or Scritch and it was hit by bad luck, I don't think it overwrites. It ends up like whatever the difference is. So if a plus 300 damage would end up with plus 50 damage here, I think. Honestly, I don't know that that scenario has ever happened. They all just add and subtract. That's how I'd expect it to work based on everything else. Is this the key to turtles on a small map? I mean, so here's the big thing. Here's something that you may be interested if you've been hanging around my chat before. Remember, there's a phobie that I've referred to as the best phobie in the game. You may have heard of it before. It's this one. Are these side by side? Stabby at level 1. 375 damage. 375 damage. I mean... That seems good. That seems good. Yes, you're not going to turn it off entirely. You're not going to turn it off entirely. But you could absolutely walk up to a stabby with Bad Omen and walk away if they don't have help. And honestly, if they sync... So imagine the scenario where it's stabby and another phobie next to each other. You run up with Bad Omen, right? You debuff them both. You follow up with the rest of your team because you just debuffed them, right? What are they going to do? Sink 4 attacks into Bad Omen? This Bad Omen seems really good. Really good. And honestly, the more I look at Bad Omen, the more I want to go back and maybe give Edgar Allen another look, because it just... I feel as though the Phobies are deceptive because they're level 1. But seriously, Bad Omen seems like it's going to be insane. Yeah, your opponent can't allow you to connect with multiple things on Bad Omen, or can't allow Bad Omen to connect on multiple things, because if that happens, you now control the board for 2 turns. It's the key to beat turtles. I mean, you can still turtle if you're spread enough. So, for example, if you have 2 turrets, if you go Bowmangle Stabby, they might be able to cover each other, depending on the layout of the map, and still be spread between the Omen. Because what happens is on the Omen, up there, you target something, and then it's an AoE around the target, as we saw in the trailer. It's not centered on the Omen, like Blondie. Blondie is centered on Blondie. The Omen is centered on the target. Now, the one thing that we don't know on here, and that was not provided to me, is whether it decreases the debuff as part of the AoE. Because typically we see that. Like, if we look at Blondie, how much does Blondie cost? 6? So Blondie actually doesn't decay. I thought Blondie decayed on the debuff, that something 2 range away only gets like minus 150 or something, but that's not the case. So then there might be no fall off on this. This might be 250 regardless. Because the reason I thought it might be different is in the trailer you see different cats, like spirits, float out of the Phobies. So it's possible that it's different. Back from having chicken and rice? Nice. Always a staple. I want to do the 1v1 on every phobie and see who wins. Example, Stabby attacking first. So somebody was doing the math with that. I think it was A-Trend doing the math with some of these phobies. Or which phobies was it? I forgot which ones, but A-Trend was doing some math on it in the Discord, and it gets complicated. Depending on what scenario, like what the parameters are for the test. This is going to be so frustrating to play against in the early game, 100%. It's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be a priority target. You have to kill it. No fall off on Zomboni either. That and Rambo are the most similar abilities. Well, Zomboni, you mean the heal? I mean, I guess. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Onda. Usually it displays... I mean, we could see it here, actually. It displays the 50% as the drop-off, but notably there isn't one on here. This is going to be like Snowball. If someone who owns it, they're going to use it almost every time. They should. So, that's a general Phobies thing, because I saw somebody else complaining about stuff in the main Discord, and believe me, I get the complaint about, oh, well... certain players or most players use the same phobies all the time. Like every game has a stabby. Does Zomboni lose the HP it heals others with? Not quite. I mean, it heals if you're saying it sacrifices 436, but if you heal 2 phobies, you're not going to lose 800 and change, if that's what you're asking. So, the point I'm trying to make is, Phobies is like chess, not a card game. And even card games have metas, and the best things, aka the ones that are most universally powerful, most generally powerful, have the most or the widest applications, are going to be the ones you see most frequently. So in some ways, Phobies is similar, but in other ways it's closer to chess, where complaining that somebody uses Stabby is like complaining that somebody uses their bishop. Like, of course they're going to use the piece. It's in their collection. And the reason you see certain Phobies more frequently than others, I'm not complaining I'm going to get Bad Omen immediately and start bullying people with it. I'm not trying to, point like Salesman's the one who's wrong about this. No, I'm saying, because this is a common thing. And I don't blame people for wanting the variety, or wanting some of these more obscure Phobies to be more common. But the problem is, if you buff some of the more obscure Phobies, they're going to just absorb and become the most common one. And it's just, you're changing who's the top dog. You're not modifying it so that things are level. On an infinite timeline, do I think that all the Phobies could be tweaked so that you could have whatever strategy? I mean, maybe. But we don't have infinite time. And the company needs to make money. You could make the argument that it would be nice if they didn't, they could just do it for the love of the game, but the reality is they got to pay their bills too, including and especially payroll. That's important. But it is unfortunate that the Jackalopes aren't great. They aren't a strategy in and of themselves. Every once in a while they come out, but that's part of the reason that it's fun, is that you don't see it very often. And I get that's why people don't like Stabby and stuff like that. I have other issues with Stabby, but Also, Bluely, in a way, nerf Russell. Yeah. I mean, so does Zomboni. Zomboni just kicks Russell right in the junk, right? I'm curious how many mechanical we have and how many electrical we have. I'm not sure. I'm confident somebody suggested it. I feel like I have, to the devs, like an official suggestion. And if you feel ambitious, do it yourself, just to bring it back up again. But we need more filters in the collection. Let me filter by all mechanical. Let me filter by things with abilities. Let me filter by things with flying. Let me filter by things with traps. Let me filter by, all the stuff. Yeah, Zomboni's one range. What do I think about the tag team paired with the new Russell? I think that's 18 keys. That's a lot. Do we have any undead resurrect Phobies that can fly besides Pterodactyl? No. Pterodactyl's the only flying one. But yeah, 18 keys, it's like, well, how good is an 18 key combination? It better be damn good, right? If you're going to spend these keys and then get these, or vice versa, you got to get your money's worth, and that's a lot of keys. A lot. Imagine what you can do with 18 keys. You could go, instead of that combination, you could go Beauty, Hevo 3.0, something else. A 1-drop. Now, granted, the Speedola, and I just threw those out because they were Phobies I was looking at, but the Speedola Edgar plan is easier done on large maps because you can do it in more bite-sized chunks. You don't have to bank for as long, but still. Beauty in 5 times 2 keys? Yeah, you get a whole army right there. Bluelian beats Russell way better than Zomboni because it can be poison. Bluelian can just remove the poison of itself. I mean, yes. Yes. And Bluelian's not to be ignored as far as combat goes. Bluelian's a significant threat on its own. An 18 key combo better summon Exodia. How much does the Luchador buff do? It's 100 damage and an extra movement space. Honestly, with the movement, I don't even know that they needed the damage buff. My Blue Lane does 530 damage. It's level 7. That's pretty solid. It's pretty threatening. Chat, overall, do blue and gray do the same damage on the same level? Oh, blue lane and gray lane? 450. $420. Gray lane's actually lower. Honestly, chat, overall, I like all the phobies. The ones I'm down on, I'm not even really down on. You know what I mean? It's down on them in relation to the other ones that are released. Like, I really like all of them. To the point where I'm almost concerned. We've now had 2 updates, right? So we're moving into, like, general thoughts about the patch. We've had 2 updates. In the first update, in full disclosure, we got a bunch of maps that I hated. There were some that I liked, but a bunch of maps I hated. Oh, we didn't talk about the maps, but we can look at that later, after this. I really hate a bunch of the full disclosure maps. I like the phobies. There are some that I like more than others, but for the most part, the phobies are good. But the problem is there are a bunch that stick out like a sore thumb that are just busted. Namely, the attractor / innocuous chain. Like, those are super... They feel like they are... All the other ones feel like they fit okay. You know, they're reasonable. Whereas attractor especially is just busted. Is it broken? Maybe. Try to look at the Coulrophobia map. So does everybody know what Coulrophobia is? If you don't know, go look it up, because we'll talk about it when we get to that map. But overall, we don't know much about the maps, because we only saw some of them so far. But the phobies feel like they're somewhat power crept from a stat perspective. They feel a little bit power crept. Is that bad? Not inherently. Not inherently. Ability-wise, they're definitely unique. I don't think... I don't know. How do you feel, Chad? Do we have an attractor in this update? They're in Frenemies, Salesman. You can look at them. There will be 10 new maps overall. We only got 2 of them so far. 3 of them were in my video if you want to see a spoiler for one of them. I did get permission to put the 3rd one in there. I did not get permission to show the other 7. But in all seriousness, I don't know that there's an attractor level of things in this patch right now. Maybe Bad Omen. Maybe Bad Omen, because I think this thing's going to be a monster bully early in the game. Hypothetically, Russell could be just busted. Like, potential-wise, Russell, I think, is the highest... Or, I keep saying Russell. Edgar. Edgar is the highest potential phobie. Because even if Zomboni is really good... Well, I take that back. Zomboni could set up some really annoying scenarios where it's not, I'm aggressively ending the game, I'm passively ending the game. Werewolf, I think everybody will agree, is the coolest one from this update, but I don't know how good it's going to be. I think it's going to be good, but I don't know how good. Numbskull is solid, but I don't think that's the one everybody's excited about. I feel like most of them are very good, but probably not attractor level busted. I agree with, and also with your follow-up that only time will tell. I agree, DT. That's kind of where I'm at. I think they are pretty much across the board better than they should be. And I'm not saying that they're broken. I'm not saying that the team, oh my god, the Phobies team, what are you doing? What have you done? What have your careless hands wrought? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the Phobies are pushed. I think they are illustrating an evolution in the the dev team's interpretation of what phobies are allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. Edgar Allen Russell will be like, I'm passive-aggressively going to end the game. Well, Edgar is aggressively ending the game. Russell's more passive. I think Werewolf is going to depend on each person, since I really think he's heavily dependent on what you compare with, like Blue Lane, as I mentioned earlier. Yes. That being said, at the same time, it might just be, hey, I'm going to run in there and be like, I am a Stairmaster, a more powerful Stairmaster, damage-wise, although it's melee, with, like, Dozer health. Think about that statement. That sounds insane, right? It may not even be, you know, like, maybe it's broken with Bluelian, but just really good otherwise. I don't know. I want Werewolf. I think Bad Omen is probably going to be the best phobie out of this patch. If I had to pick one, I think Bad Omen's the best phobie out of this patch. I think. Werewolf is the first transform, not counting Gargles? Yeah. I don't know if that's even a minority opinion, DT. Yeah, that's the thing, is this whole patch, and this is why I'm emphasizing the point that I feel that all these phobies are pushed. I always want all the phobies, but, like, there's another level to this where I really want all these phobies. All of them introduce new wrinkles that are going to present interesting and new scenarios. I mean, obviously new, I'm repeating it, but they're going to create interesting scenarios every time they hit the board, because it's going to demand not just, oh, I haven't seen this phobia a lot, so I'm not sure what to do. They're changing the way you interact with a lot of the games. We've talked about this a lot, and I am absolutely very transparent today, not just for my green screen, but also going to be transparent about the situation in the United States, which is that the elections are coming up. If you're not registered, get registered to vote. And when you are registered, ensure that you do vote, because one of the two major political parties in this country is hell-bent on its destruction. They're hell-bent on stripping rights away from people. They're hell-bent on turning back the clock multiple centuries and turning the United States of America into a theocratic dictatorship. And if that sounds like a hellscape to you, it absolutely will be. But you need to be an informed citizen in a democracy. Research your candidates, understand them. What are they going to vote for? What did they already vote for if it's an incumbent? What did they already vote for if they were in a position before and they're moving to a new one or running for a new one? It is imperative for people to be involved. I know a lot of people don't like talking about politics. They don't like hearing about politics, but it is important that people stay engaged, because the bad guys, as I'm going to describe them, the vast majority, if not the entirety of the Republican Party, have been working for years, decades, in order to get in essentially on the ground level, your school boards, your local officials, your state governments. And that's where a lot of these things are taking place. So make sure that you research your local elections as well as state elections as well as federal elections. It doesn't matter what it is. Research your candidates and make sure you vote. Secondly, if you have the opportunity, definitely look into charities. It could be local food banks. It could be something international. There are a lot of natural disasters that are going on all over the world right now. Additionally, there are man-made disasters going on all over the world right now, and realistically, they always are. In both cases, whether it's voting or it's charity, other things to help other humans, it's not just now. It's going to have to be a lifetime of this for all of us and for future generations, because these things don't change. Evil isn't just vanquished like in the movies and it goes away and then suddenly everybody lives happily ever after. You have to keep working at it, and it's going to take everybody. So I bring this up because I think it needs to be said, and I hope that people get it. Coulrophobia. Did everybody go look it up? Did everybody go look up what coulrophobia is? Because it is an actual phobia. You know, Kate Rock action? So, coulrophobia is the extreme or irrational fear of clowns. Kind of fitting for the Carnival. Kind of fitting for the Carnival, right? So Coulrophobia is one of the new maps. You tried this with Claws last night. How'd it go, Honda? What are the initial impressions? Because the two maps we have right now are small maps, and they are very linear. They're kind of a straight run compared to other maps, or it feels that way. Maybe it's not. I mean, there's obstacles, but... Well, Mangle's color swap leaked. Coulrophobia apparently is the irrational fear of clowns, which I said this to my wife offline when I looked at the map and saw what the name was. I'm like, is it really an irrational fear? Is it actually an irrational fear? Coulrophobia looks more interesting out of the two. Well, we'll look at the other one momentarily. I tried Charon here. Claws tried Daisy and immediately go to the heart. So you can just come out of spawn and then just beeline for your opponent. This is... As I look at this map, I'm getting flashes of Moai where, like, it's just going to be super difficult to defend your heart. Game just spat in my face by giving upgrade cards for bad sushi. So one thing I'm unsure of, but I assume that this space and this space are occupiable. The reason I say that is... So let's say you had an Innocuous here. You can't hit through the heart, so you move it here. So it's 1, 2, 3. You can't even hit it. But even if you carry on the lava, you put Innocuous here, they can still tuck in this corner. And it's going to be difficult. Is that accidentally, salesman? Is accidentally the right way to describe it? I don't know, this is going to be interesting, but I'm leaning towards Heart Rush here. I'm leaning towards Heart Rush here, which seems like it's going to be miserable. Charon could have value here. Honey Bear. Oh, that's not good, salesman. That's not good. You can put a Flying Phobia on the on that obstacle behind the heart. Yes, you can. So you could fly a Murder Wing or something to, like, pop whatever's on the stem here. But I think this is going to be a very difficult map to defend on, or at least it seems like it right now. The other option is... Like, how to Gravedigger and Mount Crushmore? Because you could block this off. So what if you run a Gravedigger on one... and then block this space, and lock your opponent out of this run? That feels really awkward. I don't know. My initial reaction is I don't like this map. Not the least of which is because, again, the saturation, the orange is just too much orange. Way too much orange. This is 5 spaces. So is this. This is 6. So it's possible that you want to snowball here. Problem is they can come out and hit it and then just kind of threaten it. Because you can't, like, swing up here cleanly, necessarily. They could body block by just walking up to it. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to like this map, chat. Yeah, we'll take a look at it, Honda. And then the other one is Step Right Up. There are absolutely going to be a lot of people locked out by Gravedigger and Crushmore on this map. Looks like a good map for Quagmire, Charon, and Honey Bear. The previous one. I mentioned the other two, but Quagmire and Gator would probably be pretty good here too. This one has the feel of Red Rum, because, like, you're pushing people into the center and then kind of trapping them in there. One, two, three. So a jar here, a jar or chuck, I guess, can hit this. An innocuous here can actually cover a good amount of ground. This looks like Pluto with no stim. I think that's a fair comparison. I don't know, DT, you hate Pluto. Would you hate it less without a stim? I'm inclined to say yes, me personally. Now, this is a good map for Honey Bear? Is it? You're only going to turn off one panic point at a time. More spread out than Pluto? Is it? It is a little bit, because it's basically these 2 points are back, and then you lose the lava. Because on Pluto, you could move through the lava, but yeah, it's basically shifted Pluto. I mean, the heart and the vault swap, but yeah, that's the thing. I'm with you, DT. I think the stim is the worst part of Pluto. So is this fixed Pluto? It might be. You can hit 2 panic points with Honey Bear? Only if it's, like, here, right? Because then you go 1, 2, 3. Oh, you're saying, like, take the top and glob the bottom? I don't know how well you can defend that. If you hit this, doesn't it only get these? It won't even touch the panic points. Because it'll do, like, this area. This might be a fixed Pluto. I'm definitely more intrigued by this map because of the Pluto comparison than this one. This one, I think, is going to be miserable. Maybe I'll like it. You know, first impression. And I haven't even played a game on it. I don't know. I don't like it. Let's take a look at Onda's game, because Onda said that they had played claws on it. Yeah, but blocking on Pluto basically never happens. I mean, it's happened, but it's not very common. So notably, these are like tendrils, not spines, which makes them creepier. Feel like I'll be opening Gravedigger on both of them. I can see it, I'm just not sure what I want to do yet. Onda, wait, is this a big map? Oh no, Onda banked, okay. I thought for a second this was a big map, because I saw, like, a lot of keys, and I'm like, wait a minute. There's a daisy. So yeah, Honey Bear, I think, gets a lot of value on this for a variety of reasons. Not the least of which you could, like, power down the lava and the, well, namely the stim down here, but... Level up your Charons, chat. Level them up. This is a lob map. Isn't every map a lob map? Get the supplement here. So this daisy, I mean, granted it's a Charon and a jar, but, like, this daisy is hanging in there. It isn't just accidentally dying. I just heard a weird noise. I don't know what that was, chat. I don't know if you guys could hear it. I don't know about Bomangles here. This might not be a good turret map. I guess you could pop a turret here and then cover these 2 points. Center in this. And you have a fairly safe retreat path, I guess. Gonzo is very curious here. Yeah, I mean, this was gonna happen if you stayed there, right? Was it dead if the... We're not really critiquing plays, but... Yeah, I guess it didn't matter, because this could have buffed this, and then it kills it. You had to send the Murder Wing back. But we're not really critiquing plays, we're trying to get the general flow of this map. Also, the one bag near blue Numbskull has a bean? I mean, there's stuff coming out of all the bags. So, honestly, chat, this kind of, at least right now, is confirming my initial fear. That, like, the game revolves around these 4 or 5 spaces. And I think this is going to be absolutely miserable. I anticipate this being miserable. I don't know if it will be, but we'll find out. I mean, this game is obviously over. I'm just kind to, like, parse some of this. Obviously, there was weird stuff going on as both players are just kind of trying things out. I don't mind... I mean, I don't love the opener, banking for Charon, but... it is a thing, I guess. So, like, this turn is where it gets weird. The problem is while Charon's being cute doing all this, it's not doing anything to fight their board. Because, like, some of this stuff had to die. Gonzo and other damage buffs might be really, really good on this map. Because it's forcing things into corridors. I don't know, what do you think, Jack? Could Cerberus work here? Because, like, look at this. Everything is basically in a line, for the most part. I mean, yes, you have these outliers out here, but if you're gonna conga line to the bottom, or the top, AoE stuff would obviously be better, so clearly Evo 3.0 is good, but, like... it's a shame Charon can't use stims or spas. You get what you pay for. Charon brought it on himself. I don't know, chat. I think I'm going to hate this map. I'm going to try and keep an open mind because I don't want to go in and, you know, I'm going to hate this map from the get-go and then I end up actually hating it as a result. Walk the dog. It takes so long. Like, this is actually a long walk horizontally. Vertically, it's not that long, but horizontally, this is a long walk. So, if you walk the dog, remember, you're only moving basically how a normal phobie moves, because Cerberus only has one attack, or one movement. So, it's one move, one move. So, then now it's worn off, the boost. And it's one move, one move. Then it's one move, heart. So, one turn... 2 turns, 3rd turn you get an attack. Is that better than another small map? Maybe. I don't usually count. Well, I count it, but I don't remember. The advantage here is your opponent's going to have difficulty trying to fight the Cerberus because getting a sheep hit is going to be weird. Trying to catch it on the way. You probably catch it when it's already here. But even then... You're standing on the lava, and they could probably just shell you. I don't know. Hydra greater than Cerberus? I think we determined that the other day, DT. Hydra's just arguably a better Cerberus. The thing is that the answers to Hydra are better than the answers to Cerberus, whereas if you're just beating up Hydra with Erratic or Zappy, it's going to go down faster. I don't know. It's a weird thing. What do you think about blocking on the middle top, like where this is? That's similar to what I was saying down here. So you could block somebody in, hypothetically. I don't know if that's really going to work. I think maybe blocking your own, like getting Gravedigger or Crushmore to block this spot, might work. But then is this map just becoming like Crypto? I gotta line these maps up offline next to each other, like Crypto and this and whatever the hell the one we were talking about before, Pluto, Red Rum, and kind of like see what the similarities are, see if we can draw any conclusions about which phobies work. I don't know, Chad. This is going to be interesting. I'm, say, cautiously optimistic. That might be even more positive about it than I actually am. I don't know. Let's see. Chad, I think I'm going to call it early. This was a out-of-band stream, we'll say. We'll be back at the end of the week. We, of course, are going to have a whole lot of Phobies action to look at with the new update. Whole lot of things going on. Let me know what everybody's excited about. What are people seeing? What are people excited about? What are they looking forward to? What do they hope? What are they worried about? All that fun stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know down in the comments. Check out the links in the description, both for the live stream, my Discord, all that fun stuff. The likes and subscribes help. If you're on the live stream and you're part of the Discord, hit that up. If you're not part of the Discord, why not? Join the Discord. But for now, chat, I need to get some sleep. I'm super tired. I'm going to unwind for a little bit and then call it a night. But I appreciate everybody coming out on the out-of-band stream. Definitely a lot of fun talking about the update, and I'm super excited. I'm super excited. But as always, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And Black Lives Matter.